Welcome to my channel, and let's talk about works which I managed to finish in March. When I collected books for this video, I was surprised how many pictures I managed to do. Despite all the problems which we had in March, and honestly, almost the whole month I felt quite low. Most of all, I am proud that I started to do spring pictures, and many of them have either nice spring landscapes or spring weather. Let's start from Wish You Were Here, a book by Teresa Kudrich. Honestly, not my best work. I always loved this page with Japanese garden. I really wanted to do a springtime in the garden to show the beauty of trees in bloom, and I managed to do several such areas. And honestly, I do love the upper part of the page, including this building, maybe it's temple inside of the garden. I tried to do different colors for the greenery, because you know that Japanese gardens, they are famous that they use trees or plants with different color for the leaves, and in such way garden looks amazing during the whole year. Area which totally disappointed me, it's those water lilies. They had very thick black lines, and despite all my attempts somehow to improve their shape, to mask lines, well, water and those water lilies, really, it's my worst area on this page. Apart from it, I think that it's lovely. At least I returned to Teresa book after a month's break, so it was average work. The next one, I think that I managed to do better. It's from Village Charm. Lovely book, and I decided to do a title page, but I tried not to copy colors, but even if I love colors which Teresa selected for the full color illustration, I decided that I will use something slightly different. It was fun to select colors for the bricks, for roofs, and I think that I managed to show this pretty nice summer vibe, nice weather, bright sun, nicely decorated, beautiful summer street with a lot of interesting shops. I wouldn't mind to go myself to such a village. And yes, I think that because area of the water it was relatively small, I wasn't afraid to do it. So with this one I'm much more happy comparing to the first one. Then I decided that if I traditionally do at least a couple of Matchstick mouse pictures each month, maybe for March, I could select this big adventure. Before I did only one page in it, and I was very unpleasantly surprised by paper. And you know what? My two pictures which I did in March, they totally confirmed that somehow I dislike to color on this page. On this paper, it's not that it's a big difference with paper in his previous books, but something just doesn't work for me. On this one I combined Arctics for the background and Prismacolors for the main objects. It was fun to color because it's a lovely page, it's nice to look at all the things which Mouse and friends try to collect preparing for their traveling time. But, well, both Arctics and Prismacolors didn't work well. In order to cover paper better, sometimes I even had to use blender or burnisher. The second one technique is the same. Arctic pencils for all those clouds, sky, mountains, and only for the main image I used Prismacolors. Pictures are lovely, but somehow I lost all my pleasure from the process, and it's sad because I love Matchstick mouse and I love pictures in this book. But somehow I just can't find way how to color in on this paper. Maybe I need to use more markers. It's also not my favorite way because, yes, I still a little bit afraid about markers losing color with time, even in closed book. And I simply prefer to work with pencils. I think that in such way pictures, they look more adult, more interesting when you work with pencils, and marker you use only for the background. But to suffer with this paper, I don't know. I definitely don't intend to do something complicated like copy them on my own paper. It's not worth all the efforts. So maybe I will try different pencils. So far I used only Arctics and Prismacolors. Maybe it's time to test something from my other budget brands. Sometimes, very surprisingly, even very cheap pencils, maybe they can work on thin paper. I think that maybe I will use my old Star Joy pencils, or maybe even Socolor. So I will give it another try, but well, it was the last chance for this book. Now let's move to the books by Russell Hampson. You know that I promised myself to do at least one or better two pictures in Around the World with Mr. Fogerty, because I hope that one day I will finish traveling around the world with Mr. Fogerty and Mr. Snail, and then I will justify purchasing the next book, which is already was published by Russell Hampson, but I want to finish first this one. So in March I had good progress. It's a simple page but still very lovely because I love the wreath around it, and indeed it's very nicely shown the atmosphere of pleasant day and those lazy poses of Mr. Fogerty, but not so lazy but Mr. Snail, who discovered the snail. Very nice. When I started to do it, I even didn't understand why Mr. Snail is so shocked. Then I realized that they have snail here. Well, quick and lovely work, nothing special, but it really helped me to relax. The next one I wanted to do for a long time. I don't know why I always imagined it with this dark background. That's where markers really helped me quickly to do the background, sky, mountains, and even water. Areas which I didn't like black lines on the water. Of course, I masked with white paint. The rest, it's polychromasis, I think, as usual. It was fun again to select colors for Mr. Fogerty. I tried to select something new for him for each page. He's very fashionable frog. Lovely. In such small details like those fishes with huge eyes or the pirate here, they are totally adorable. And poor Mr. Snail, who traveled alone without any resources. It's mostly why I love books by Russell Hampson, because they are full of humor. Yes, I love compositions, I love main characters, everything is nicely depicted by this, but this touch of humor in each of his pictures, for me it's priceless. And finally, I did this quick work because in March I wanted to support our Ukrainian color along, Color with Ukraine, and we colored various balloons. I decided that it's a very good time to select this one, the Art of Light. Of course, I wanted to do something very beautiful for the balloon here, not something which we can see in real life when balloons are mostly white, red, blue. Here I decided to do something more in vintage style. I think that it really looks quite nice on this mint background. As usual, mint background, that's markers. I do love how Ahuhu work here. They really help me to do those boring background very quickly without any efforts. Areas where I wasn't very happy how I blended Ahuhu, you can see that I decided to add on such areas clouds, and it even made the whole picture more interesting. It added additional elements to the bottom part of the page. Again, I really love how poor Mr. Snail, how he looks scared with only his eyes visible here. Lovely. Well, Moonlight Mischief, I did this adorable cellist, and I do love how I made the main hero, and I do love how I did this area, but maybe I selected too intense colors for the background. While I was thinking, do I wanted to do a maybe evening concert, so to do the dark sky. Then I decided that maybe no, it will be a daylight. I think that at least for the tree behind and for this area, green color is too intense. It totally ate the cellist, so maybe with lighter background it will look slightly better. But still, I think that it's lovely. First I was confused which colors to use for the skin of the elephant, but then I think that I managed to do it nicely. He also looks fashionable with the blue suit, and again those adorable animals around, they always put a smile on my face. The frog, those birds, their faces, it's something special. A really lovely page, and again it was very quick and relaxing work. So I am happy with all my books by Russell Hampson. In Ivy this month I tried to do a spread with a lot of butterflies, but my patience ran out very quickly. I did this butterfly mandala. Butterflies by itself, they weren't so bad, but they also had strange additional lines on the background. I didn't know how to work with them. They didn't look like frames, they were just areas inside of the background. So I used white gold, or maybe just silver. So it was white shiny watercolor paint on top of blue. It created effect similar to mosaic or maybe even stained glass window, but apart from it, it wasn't very interesting. On the right side, I tried to use many of the same colors to make two matching pages, but when I did the bottom part, it was so boring that I realized that, well, I did video to demonstrate how I would color the whole spread, but I don't want to waste my time to color the same butterflies second time. First, it was interesting to separate them into several color groups, to combine colors, so that was okay. But it's not interesting to copy it second time with the same colors, not for me. Here I have this Lady Spring book, which I have already for several years, and I did one page here only when I got the book to test paper, to make video for you with the review of the book, but then each spring I never had time to do something here. It's a Polish book with illustrations from several Polish artists, but somehow I always finish to color pictures by Anna Marcinska. Several years ago I started from this Japanese plum, a very lovely romantic lady, and this year I did this page. I think that it's the essence of spring. When I selected colors, especially for the background, I wanted to make something resembling melting snow or melting ice, and to work on this contrast of the very light, almost white flowers. Some fresh greenery just appeared, those leaves, you know that they have usually very vibrant green colors, and the background. So I started with shades of blue, like cerulean blue, indifferent blue for the background, and on this matte watercolor paint I then sprinkled pearl green and pearl silver, I think. So some pearl watercolor paints to create this effect of, for me it's kind of melting snow or melting ice. And later the main image I did with polychromos pencils with a little bit of watercolor. For flowers I think that I also added Prismacolors, so it was a mix of various media. The most confusing part was this maybe crown, maybe something else. And usually on pictures by Anna Marchinska we have a lot of such lines which you have, at least I have difficulty how to interpret them, how to use them for my page, but I think that here everything worked. I added a little bit of white everywhere, maybe it's tiny white buds for the same flowers, maybe again it's a little bit of snow, but I think that the whole picture looks quite nice, and for me it's a good representation of the beginning of spring. In March, I started several of my untouched books, and I'm extremely happy because, for example, this premium edition of Apple I have also for several years. I love it, but again, as with many of Korean books, I am totally intimidated with the left side. I really love the artwork by Apple, the full color work, and when I start to plan color myself, it feels like I simply can't do anything similar to the level of the artist of the original artwork, and it was very discouraging. But finally I decided that for my first project here, I can copy something from Apple and I can simply change several details to make it like my own work, to make it feel like it's my own work. So this page I did with new color crayons and even with a little bit of Inktense when I did the background, when I tested paper with water-soluble media. Then for the clouds and some of the edible things, all those baked goods, I used Prismacolors. Then I decided to recreate this nice pattern for the girl's pajama, and that's where I switched to polychromos with their harder tips. It was easier to draw lines. Well, not as precise as on the original work, but I think that the whole image looks quite nice. At least I think that I broke my fear to do something in this book. Now I feel more confident, and I definitely will try to do something else, maybe this time trying to do something more original, because yes, this one, it's quite a copy. I tried to add maybe more lilac, more violet colors when I did sky. I tried to change color of clouds a little bit, so it didn't feel like a total copying the original work. So I think that it's very lovely. When I finished it, I was very happy. Another book which I started and where I managed to finish 2 pictures, one not bad and one good. So it's a book by Urban Anna with various shop fronts. In March, I decided to start from this famous French Le Consulat restaurant, and of course, because it's so famous, I decided that it could justify the fact that I will completely copy the original colors. Again, when I start to do something in such books, it's always a problem to copy and to learn something from the original art, or to try to do something by myself. For this book I selected that, well, I will copy. This one done completely with watercolors. No pencils at all, only watercolor paints, mostly Ukrainian paints by Rosa Gallery, because we also recently had some new colors. They were quite helpful here, those greens, reds. So well, my biggest problem here was mostly that I selected too intense colors here for the canopy. It was, well, it was too much. The rest was okay. I especially love those like stains of colors inside of the restaurant. Nothing very defined, just yellow which flowing into a dirty brown color, but it helps to represent shapes of the furniture, of the bottles inside of the restaurant, so it was interesting to do. But for my second picture I decided to use a different approach and to use medium which I can control a little bit more. So my second work done with graphitins and with Inktense. When I saw the picture from a restaurant in Japan, in Kyoto, I looked at all those different grays and I realized that it's a perfect picture for graphitins. In my Inktense and in my graphitins I have several totally untouched gray pencils. They are the longest in this set. I never use them. I prefer to work with bright colors. My shortest Inktense and graphitins, they are greens, violet, dark red, but grays I almost never use them. Here I totally enjoyed working with them. I used different techniques. Something I put directly on paper. Sometimes I took pigment from the graphitin core to get more clean, vibrant color, and then I added second layer with pencil on the paper. Paper worked very well with Inktense and graphitins. Pigment spreaded very well. Surface wasn't damaged, so it was a pleasure. And it's like I taught myself several new tricks with graphitins and with Inktense. I don't like when some nice art supplies and Derwent, graphitins and Inktense, they are nice art supplies, but unfortunately they are not very frequently used for my colorings, and I don't like such things. So I'm always happy to find paper, to find book where I can use them, where they match the color palette for the page. I'm very happy with this one. Several colors which were used on the original paintings I would never imagine to use myself, and when I selected all those grays and shading color for grays, again I taught myself several nice tricks. I also used Inktense from the newest color palette which they added 1 year ago, color like mint, mink. Also they were also quite helpful. It's dark gray with some reddish underpaint. Yeah, very helpful here, and I was very pleased that I can use my new book, my new art supplies which I received for this Christmas, and in such a way they are not sitting idly inside of my bookshelves. Another start in Kanoko Girl, Modern Girl with Cat. I didn't know which one I wanted to select as my first page, so many lovely pictures, but I decided that I can try here, where the girl isn't very big. I immediately was attracted to her dress, costume. It's kind of mix of traditional kimono top with this traditional ornament and more modern, long, very elegant skirt. Really very lovely costume here. It was, I don't know why I immediately knew that I want to do this olive green skirt. It was the initial point where I started to select all colors together. It matched leaves on her upper part, on her jacket probably. I also think that cat looks quite nice. It's not lost when she has such colors around. Well, as usual, I struggled a little bit when I did the background. I didn't want to ruin my first page testing here watercolors or something else. If I wouldn't be very lazy and if I have some masking fluid, maybe I would use distress inks or distress oxides here, but then I decided that maybe I can actually use Mitsubishi Uno. When I got the book, it was a good reminder by Nel Kaneko that Mitsubishi Uno, they are Japanese pencils and they can be used in this book. I have set of them and I never managed to find paper where I can actually use them. For me, they are vibrant, they have good color palette, but they are extremely difficult to use, difficult to blend, to layer, they immediately feel waxy, and even if they are vibrant and feel soft, somehow my hand and arm, they feel tired very quickly when I work with Mitsubishi Uno. So I have the box, but I almost never use them. And finally, surprisingly, with various shades of ochre, light ochre, golden ochre, I managed to do this yellow background. I was quite pleasantly surprised. It was a happy moment again that pencil set, which I almost never use, finally I find a way. At least for the backgrounds I can use it here. Maybe not for the main image, but for big areas I will try to incorporate them into my colorings. So that was my test page in Nel Kaneko. Paper is lovely, pictures are also very cute. Still, cats by Nel Kaneko are my favorites, but this one is also quite interesting to color. Okay, another start in Little Secrets from My Fairy House, Klara Markova. I planned to start it, and during Christmas season I selected winter pictures, then again not enough time, so I changed my plans, and in the end, as my first coloring, I selected this beautiful flamingo and sugar plum fairy. It's not bad, but when I finished to film this one, to color and to film this one, I felt like I have an overdose of pink and purple colors that I won't be touching them at least for a week. Usually I love this color palette, but well, even for me it was too much. It's done completely with Prismacolors, also of course a lot of white paint to mask some lines, to add texture on the feathers of flamingo. In the end, when I finish a page by Klara Markova, I feel overwhelmed because they always are very detailed, but at the same time I was quite pleased. Nice paper, lovely, sweet designs, and I think that it's one of her best books. Various pictures for various seasons. You can find something to color for them. Easter, for summertime with various fruits, and I think that her characters, they started to look a little bit better in this book. Maybe my next page I will try to do with polychromoses, because I have heard mixed reviews about how polychromoses behave on this paper, so I want to test myself. Of course, I tried to continue my journey with books by Kanoko Egusa in March. I did this, maybe swan, maybe peacock. When I started this bird, which consists of many various buttons, beads and brooches, I planned to add more lace around it, so I deliberately did this background on which a white lace would look nice, but in the end I decided to add lace only on the head of the peacock, because it was again too much. I realized that I don't have enough skills to draw elegant lace, and I really loved the central part a lot, how I did all those shiny things. They look quite realistic for me, so I was proud of my skills to draw gemstones, pearls, gold. So I decided that I don't want to mess it up on the last step, and I added only a little bit of lace. I was inspired by beautiful lace from Bruges, from Belgium, or maybe from other countries. So, well, almost like I imagined, but sometimes it's nice to stop when you feel that you can mess up on the last step. And even if I did only one page, I still consider it a success that I try to fill in the symphony of cute animals every month. In March, I really had craving to color spring flowers, so I started my first page in Leon's journey. It's just the beginning. I enjoyed every moment. I didn't want to rush, so that's what I managed to do so far. I'm very happy with the paper, how my Prismacolors behave here. So I hope that soon I will finish it. I think that for now it looks quite nice. I don't want to mess up with the rest of it, so I try to select carefully colors for each next element. The last picture which I want to show you, it's in Leila Dewey Walk in the Woods. Again, spring is in the air, so I did this lovely round page with blue teeth. I used my experience which I got from my previous works. This one I did, I think that last summer probably. Apart from Inktense, here I also tried to use polychromoses for the flowers, and in some of their colors they didn't give me enough vibrancy. So in the end I decided that for me the best way is to combine Prismacolors and polychromoses. For flowers, Prismacolors give me more vibrant, more intense colors, so flowers are Prismacolors. But to make more interesting various shades of green, I think that polychromoses are a better choice. And with such mix, I think that we can get the best results. I even managed to use Derwent Color Soft for this very light background. And well, for me it's a very relaxed work, and it's again one of the essence of spring work, so it really helped me to feel a little bit better. I hope that in April I will continue to do botanical pictures, spring illustrations, and in the end I will have a lot of flower pages. Thanks for watching, and well, I hope to return quite soon with my next videos.